The blue glow of my laptop screen illuminated my face as I sat cross-legged on my apartment floor at 3 a.m., surrounded by empty coffee cups and scattered sticky notes. Another successful code deployment, another step closer to my secret empire. I'm Nina, and I've been living a double life for the past 3 years. My phone buzzed. Dad. Again. Nina, where are those quarterly projections? The board meetings in 4 hours. His voice carried that familiar edge of disappointment. Just finishing them now, I lied, quickly minimizing my startup's dashboard and pulling up the family business spreadsheets. You'll have them in 20 minutes. Make it 10, and don't forget the strategy meeting at 9. Before I could respond, he hung up. Typical Mason Clayton. All business, no pleasantries, even with his own daughter. I rubbed my eyes and switched screens again, sending a quick message to my development team in Singapore. Great work, everyone. Launch is still on track for next month. My other phone, the one my family doesn't know about, lit up with a message from Reed. You can't keep burning the candle at both ends, Nina. Something's gotta give. I smiled despite my exhaustion. Reed had been my confidant since we were kids, the only one who truly understood why I built this secret life. Watch me, I texted back. The sun was rising when I finally crawled into bed, only to be jolted awake 2 hours later by my mother's incoming video call. Darling, you look terrible. Desiree's perfectly made-up face filled my screen. Have you been staying up late again? You know how important family breakfast is to your father. Sorry, Mom. Lost track of time working on those projections. Well, at least you're dedicated to the business, unlike last month when you missed that crucial supplier meeting. Her guilt trip arrows always hit their mark. Tatum had to handle it alone, poor thing. I bit back a retort about Tatum's supposed competence. My sister, the golden child, who'd never questioned our parents' plans for our lives. I'll be there in 30 minutes, I promised, already heading to the shower. The Clayton Textiles building loomed over me as I pulled into the parking lot. My real office, the one where my tech company was revolutionizing supply chain management, was a modern co-working space downtown. This place, with its dated architecture and fading sign, felt like a prison. There's my little sister, Tatum called out as I entered the conference room. Finally decided to grace us with your presence? I forced a smile, taking my seat beside Paxton, our business consultant, who gave me a knowing look. Sometimes I wondered if he suspected something. Now that we're all here, Dad began, let's discuss the upcoming quarter. Nina, your projections? I connected my laptop and presented the numbers I'd prepared in those precious 10 minutes before dawn. Graphs, forecasts, all carefully crafted to show modest improvement while hiding how much I'd actually been helping behind the scenes with my tech expertise. These numbers seem optimistic, Tatum challenged, leaning forward. What's your basis for this growth projection? Before I could respond, my other phone vibrated in my pocket. Harper, my biggest investor, was calling. I ignored it, but my heart raced. Harper never called unless it was important. The Asian market is showing promising signs, I explained, keeping my voice steady. If we implement the new inventory management system I proposed. More technology? Dad interrupted, shaking his head. Nina, we've discussed this. Our business was built on relationships, not computers. I gripped my pen tighter, thinking of my own company's valuation, now approaching 9 figures. All built on the very technology my father dismissed. The meeting dragged on, and I felt my other phone buzzing persistently. Finally, I excused myself to the bathroom and called Harper back. Nina, where have you been? The Series B investors are ready to move. They want to meet tomorrow. My heart stopped. This was it, the opportunity we'd been working toward. I can't just drop everything, I whispered, checking under the stalls for eavesdroppers. My family. Listen to me, Harper cut in. You've built something extraordinary. Are you really going to let your family's outdated expectations hold you back? It's time to choose. As I ended the call, my mother's voice carried down the hallway. Nina, the meeting's waiting. I stared at my reflection in the mirror, straightening my blazer. One life built on lies and family obligation, another built on innovation and freedom. Something had to give. My phone buzzed one more time. A text from Reed. Remember who you really are. I took a deep breath and headed back to the conference room. My decision made. Soon, they'd all know exactly who I really was. The next morning, I arrived early at Clayton Textiles, knowing Dad had called an emergency family meeting. The familiar scent of coffee and leather couldn't mask the tension in the air as I pushed open his office door. "Right on time," Dad said, not looking up from his papers. "Take a seat." Tatum was already there, perfectly poised in her designer suit. Mom sat beside her, both of them wearing identical expressions of superiority that made my skin crawl. "I've been thinking about the future of this company," Dad began, finally meeting my eyes. "And it's time we discussed succession planning." My phone buzzed in my pocket. Probably Harper about the investors' meeting I was missing. I silenced it without looking. "Nina, you've shown remarkable improvement lately. Those projections yesterday." He paused, shuffling papers on his desk. "They made me realize you might be ready for more responsibility." Tatum's sharp intake of breath didn't go unnoticed. "Dad, we discussed this. I'm the one who's been here consistently. And you'll remain COO." He cut her off. "But Nina has a fresh perspective we need. I'm appointing her as Director of Operations, effective immediately." The irony wasn't lost on me. After years of dismissing my ideas, he was finally offering me power, just as I was ready to reveal my separate life. "Mason, are you sure?" Mom's perfectly manicured hand reached for his arm. "Nina's been so distracted lately." "I've noticed her dedication," Paxton spoke up from the corner where he'd been quietly observing. I hadn't even noticed him come in. "She's brought some innovative solutions to our inventory problems." If they only knew those innovative solutions came from my own company's software. "What do you say, Nina?" Dad leaned forward, his expression earnest for once. "This is your chance to prove yourself to the family." My phone buzzed again. This time I glanced down. "Reed. Harper says the investors won't wait. It's now or never." I started, then caught Tatum's glare. "Can I have 24 hours to think about it?" Dad's face darkened. "This isn't a negotiation, Nina. This is your birthright, your responsibility." "Responsibility?" I couldn't help but laugh. "Like when you shut down my tech proposals 3 years ago? Or when you said computers would never replace handshakes?" "Here we go again." Tatum rolled her eyes. "Nina's Teenage Rebellion, Part 2. "I'm not a teenager anymore," I shot back, standing up. "And maybe I have other plans." "Other plans?" Mom's voice dripped with concern. "Darling, what could be more important than family?" My phone buzzed a third time. "Harper now. Investors are asking questions. Should I tell them you're not coming?" "Nina," Dad's voice softened dangerously. "Think very carefully about your next move. This company has supported our family for 3 generations." Paxton cleared his throat. "If I may, Nina's technical expertise could be exactly what Clayton Textiles needs right now. The market is changing." "Stay out of this," Tatum snapped. "This is family business." I looked at each of them. Dad's stern expectation, Mom's manipulative concern, Tatum's barely concealed hostility. Then I thought about my own company, my team waiting for leadership, the investors ready to take us global. "I'll do it," I heard myself say. "Excellent!" Dad stood up, reaching for the contracts he'd obviously prepared in advance. "Sign here and—" "On one condition," I interrupted. "I need 3 days to prepare. Then I want to present my complete vision for the company's future at the board meeting." Tatum scoffed. "Since when do you make conditions?" "Let her speak," Paxton interjected, earning another glare from my sister. Dad studied me carefully. 3 days? What are you planning, Nina?" "Trust me," I said, meeting his gaze steadily. "You'll want to hear what I have to say." As I left the office, Reed was waiting in the lobby. "Well?" "They took the bait," I whispered, hurrying him toward the exit. 3 days to prepare my presentation. Is Harper still at the investors' meeting?" "Stalling them as we speak," he grinned. "Ready to blow their minds?" "More than ready." I checked my watch. "Let's go show those investors what we've built. Then we'll show my family exactly what they've been missing. Nina! Tatum's voice rang out behind us. I turned to see her striding across the lobby. Whatever you're planning, don't you dare embarrass this family. I smiled sweetly. Wouldn't dream of it, sis. See you at the board meeting. As Reed and I stepped into the elevator, I caught Paxton watching us with intense interest. He nodded slightly, and I had a feeling he'd just figured out exactly what was coming. 3 days, Reed muttered as the doors closed. Think that's enough time to prepare your revenge? Trust me, I said, pulling up my company's latest valuation on my phone. I've been preparing for this moment for 3 years. The investors' meeting went exactly as planned. I stood in Harper's downtown office afterward, still buzzing from their enthusiasm, when my work phone rang. Dad again. The supplier meeting starts in 20 minutes, he barked. Where are you? I checked my watch. 2 p.m. already. On my way, I said, gathering my things. Traffic's terrible. Just like old times. Harper smirked as I ended the call. How long are you going to keep juggling? 2 more days, I replied, pulling on my jacket. Just need to keep the plates spinning until the board meeting. Nina! Harper's voice turned serious. These investors aren't going to wait forever. They want to announce the deal this week. Perfect timing, then. I headed for the door, but Harper blocked my path. Are you sure you want to do it this way? There are more diplomatic approaches. Diplomatic? I laughed. Like when my father diplomatically told me my tech ideas would ruin the company? Or when Tatum diplomatically suggested I wasn't committed enough? Point taken. Harper stepped aside. Just remember, revenge might feel good in the moment, but this isn't about revenge, I interrupted. It's about finally being honest. I made it to Clayton Textiles just as the supplier meeting was starting. Tatum shot me a disapproving look as I slipped into my seat. As I was saying, our main supplier continued, prices are going up across the board. Without significant changes, we'll have to increase our rates by 30%. Dad's face turned red. 30%? That'll kill us! If I may, I spoke up, pulling out my laptop. I've been working on something that might help. Here we go with the computers again, Tatum muttered. I pulled up a demonstration of my company's software, carefully branded with Clayton Textiles colors for this presentation. This system could optimize our supply chain, reducing costs by at least 40%. The supplier leaned forward, interested. That's impressive. Where did you develop this? I've been working on it in my spare time, I said smoothly, ignoring Reed's text that just popped up. Your spare time? LOL. Implementation would take months, Tatum argued. We need solutions now. Actually, Paxton spoke up from the corner, I've seen similar systems deployed in weeks. Nina, this is remarkably sophisticated for a side project. I met his knowing gaze. He definitely suspected something. We'll discuss this later, Dad cut in. Right now, we need to focus on immediate solutions. My other phone buzzed. A message from my development team about a critical bug fix needed before the board meeting. I had to get out of there. Excuse me, I stood up. Emergency call I have to take. Sit down, Dad commanded. Whatever it is can wait. It really can't. I gathered my things. But I've left detailed notes about potential cost-saving measures on your desk. As I hurried out, I heard Tatum. See what I mean about commitment? I found an empty conference room and pulled out my other laptop. 20 minutes into debugging with my team, the door opened. Paxton. Interesting software you showed in there, he said, closing the door behind him. Reminds me of something I saw at a tech conference last month. Something from a promising startup. I kept typing. Really? What startup? I think you know exactly which one. He sat down across from me. The question is, does your family? I finally looked up. Are you going to tell them? That's not my place. He leaned back. But Nina, they're going to find out soon enough. This company is in trouble, more than they're admitting. Your father's pride won't let him see it, but we need exactly the kind of innovation you're bringing. Just not from me, right? I closed my laptop. Not from the rebellious daughter? You might be surprised. Paxton stood up. Your father assigned me to evaluate the company's future viability. My report is due at the board meeting, the same meeting where you're presenting. My phone buzzed again. Harper. Investors are ready to sign. Need you here ASAP. Look, I said to Paxton, whatever you think you know. I know you're trying to help in your own way. He headed for the door. Just make sure your revenge doesn't burn bridges you might need later. After he left, I called Reed. We might have a problem. Paxton knows. How much? Enough to be dangerous. I started packing up my things. But maybe also enough to be useful. Nina? Reed's voice was cautious. What are you thinking? I smiled, a new plan forming. I'm thinking it's time to adjust our presentation for the board meeting. How quickly can you get me the company's complete financial records? The ones showing how your software secretly saved them millions last year? Already on it. Perfect. I headed for the elevator, ignoring another missed call from Dad. Time to show them exactly how much they need the daughter they've been dismissing. The day before the board meeting, everything started unraveling. I sat in my startup's office, rehearsing my presentation with Harper, when both my phones exploded with notifications. Nina, emergency at the factory! Tatum's voice crackled through one speaker. The new shipment is completely wrong, and the client's threatening to pull their biggest order. Before I could respond, my other phone rang, my lead developer. Boss, the server's down. We need to postpone tomorrow's launch. I pressed my fingers to my temples. How long to fix it? 8 hours minimum. We need you here. Harper watched me with concern as I ended the call. The board meeting's tomorrow. You can't be in two places at once. Watch me. I grabbed my laptop. I can handle the server issue remotely while... My mother burst into the office. I froze. How did she even know where to find me? Nina, thank goodness! She looked around the modern space with obvious distaste. What is this place? Never mind. You need to come home right now. Your father's called an emergency family dinner. Mom, I'm in the middle of... No excuses! She grabbed my arm. The Wellington order is about to collapse. 3 generations of business relationships at stake. And here you are, playing with computers in some startup incubator? Harper stepped forward. Mrs. Clayton, Nina is in an important... And who might you be? Mom's eyes narrowed. Harper James. I'm Nina's business associate. I cut in quickly. Mom, give me 5 minutes to wrap up here. 3 minutes? She snapped. I'm waiting in the car. After she left, Harper turned to me. This is getting out of hand. I know. I started packing up, but I just need to hold it together until tomorrow. Your mother showing up here changes things. What if she tells your father? My developer called again. Boss, we're losing clients by the minute. I ended the call and looked at Harper desperately. Can you handle the server crisis? Just until I deal with this family thing? Nina, she warned, you're about to lose everything you've built here. I'll lose everything either way if I don't show up tonight. I headed for the door. Just keep it running for a few hours. The family dinner was exactly the ambush I expected. Dad sat at the head of the table, face like thunder. Tatum paced behind him. The Wellington order represents 30% of our annual revenue. Dad began without preamble. Where were you? Working on a solution, I replied, pulling out my laptop. If we implement the new system... Enough! He slammed his hand on the table. This isn't about computers, Nina. This is about loyalty, about family. Mason, Mom touched his arm. Remember your blood pressure. Blood pressure? Tatum scoffed. What about our blood? Our family name? While I've been trying to save the Wellington account, Nina's been playing entrepreneur in some startup office. My phone buzzed. Harper. Server crisis worse. Need decision now. Nina, Dad's voice softened dangerously. Tomorrow you're presenting to the board, showing them you're ready to help lead this company. But right now, I'm not sure you understand what that means. I understand perfectly, I stood up. And tomorrow, you'll understand too. Sit down. Mom's voice cracked like a whip. You ungrateful child. After everything we've sacrificed for you. Sacrificed? I laughed. You mean like sacrificing my dreams? My ambitions? Everything I wanted to build? The only thing you're building, Tatum spat, is a case for why you don't deserve any part of this company. My phone buzzed again. Reed this time. Investors getting nervous about tomorrow. Harper can't hold them much longer. Nina, Dad stood up slowly. Whatever you're planning for tomorrow's presentation, remember this. You're a Clayton. That means something in this industry. You're right, Dad. I gathered my things. It does mean something, and tomorrow you'll find out exactly what. If you walk out that door, Mom called after me, don't bother coming to the board meeting. I turned back one last time. Oh, I'll be there, and I promise you, it's going to be a presentation none of you will ever forget. In my car, I called Harper. How bad is the server situation? Bad, but fixable if you come now. I started the engine. I'll be there in 10 minutes. And Harper, call the investors. Tell them tomorrow's show is going to be even better than they expected. What are you planning? I smiled, thinking of my family's faces around that dinner table. They want to talk about loyalty? Fine. Tomorrow they'll learn what happens when you push away the one person who could have saved everything. Nina, Harper's voice was worried. Don't let anger drive this. It's not anger anymore, I replied, pulling onto the highway. It's justice. The morning of the board meeting, I arrived an hour early to set up. The server crisis had kept me up all night, but adrenaline coursed through my veins as I connected my laptop to the projector. Need help with that? Reed's voice made me jump. What are you doing here? I whispered, glancing at the door. Moral support. He handed me a coffee. Also, Harper sent me. The investors are in the building. What? I nearly dropped my laptop. They're supposed to be at our office. They wanted to see the whole show. He grinned. Can't blame them. It's not every day they get to witness a corporate coup. It's not a coup, I protested. It's… Well. Tatum's voice cut through the room. Secret meetings before the big presentation? She stood in the doorway, arms crossed. Behind her, Paxton appeared, carrying his own stack of documents. Just getting set up, I said smoothly. Reed was helping with the tech. Of course he was. Tatum's eyes narrowed. Always hiding behind computers, aren't you, Nina? Just like when we were kids and you'd lock yourself in your room with your precious coding books. Those coding books built something pretty impressive, Reed shot back. Maybe if you'd paid attention. Reed, I warned. Not now. Paxton cleared his throat. The board members are arriving. And Nina, your parents are looking for you. I found them in Dad's office. Mom was adjusting his tie while he reviewed his notes. There you are, Mom said. Darling, about last night. Save it. I held up my hand. Everything that needs to be said will be said in the boardroom. Nina, Dad's voice was unusually quiet. Whatever you're planning, remember that some words can't be taken back. For a moment, I saw genuine concern in his eyes. But then I remembered all the times he'd dismissed my ideas, all the years of manipulation and control. I remember everything, Dad. That's the problem. The boardroom filled quickly. Ancient Mr. Patterson, who'd known my grandfather. Sarah from legal, looking nervous. The Wellington client representatives, there to discuss the troubled order. And in the back, trying to be inconspicuous, Harper and the investors. Before we begin, Dad stood at the head of the table. I want to announce some changes. My daughter Nina has agreed to take on a larger role in our company's future. Polite applause. Tatum's face could have curdled milk. And now, he continued, Nina will present her vision for modernizing our operations. I connected my laptop, heart pounding. On my screen, 2 presentations waited. The safe one they expected, and the truth they never saw coming. Actually, I said, standing up, I'd like to start with some numbers you need to see. I clicked, and gasps filled the room. On the screen, Clayton Textile's real financial situation appeared. The losses, the outdated systems, the failing contracts. And next to it, the revenue that had been secretly generated by my software over the past year. What is this? Dad demanded. This, I clicked again, revealing my company's logo, is how your daughter's little computer hobby has been keeping your company alive. The room erupted. Tatum jumped to her feet, Mom pressed a hand to her chest, and the board members started whispering furiously. You see, I continued over the chaos, while you were clinging to handshakes and tradition, I built something that's about to revolutionize the entire industry. And those improvements you've been praising in our supply chain? That was all my software, my company. Your company? Dad's face had gone pale. Harper stood up in the back. Perhaps this is a good time to introduce myself properly. Harper James, lead investor in Nina's technology firm, currently valued at, she named a number that made Mr. Patterson drop his coffee cup. Impossible, Tatum sputtered. You've been here working for us. No, I corrected her. I've been saving you. But now it's time to decide. Does Clayton Textiles want to enter the modern age as a partner in my success, or stick to its outdated ways and fade into irrelevance? Partner? Dad's voice was dangerous. You dare to come in here and— Mason, Paxton interrupted, standing up. I think you should look at these numbers carefully. What Nina's built, it's extraordinary, and exactly what this company needs. The Wellington representatives were nodding. Even Sarah looked impressed. So, I faced my father directly. What's it going to be? Partnership or pride? The room fell silent. In that moment, as my father stared at the evidence of his daughter's secret success, I finally felt the weight of 3 years of deception lift from my shoulders. Reed squeezed my hand under the table as Dad slowly sat down, looking at the numbers again. Tell us more, he said finally, his voice rough. Tell us everything. Everything, I smiled, clicking to the next slide. Let's start with how my software saved the Wellington account 3 times this year alone. That's a lie, Tatum shot up again. I handled those crisis situations myself. Did you? I pulled up the data. Or did you follow the suggestions that mysteriously appeared in your inbox? The ones that always seemed to solve the problem? The Wellington representatives leaned forward, interested. Is this true, Tatum? Before she could respond, I continued. My software detected supply chain issues weeks before they became critical. Every time Tatum saved the day, it was because my system had already identified the solution. Enough! Dad's fist hit the table. You've made your point about the technology, but this deception, this secret company, deception! Harper stood again. Nina's company is one of the fastest growing tech startups in the industry. Your daughter is a CEO who's revolutionizing supply chain management while simultaneously keeping your company afloat. Most parents would be proud. Proud? Mom's voice cracked. She betrayed us, our own daughter, working behind our backs. Like you worked behind mine, I interrupted. When you and Dad conspired to shut down my tech proposals? When you manipulated me into staying here instead of taking that Silicon Valley job? We were protecting you, Mom cried. No, Paxton spoke up. You were protecting yourselves, your way of doing business, and it nearly cost you everything. He opened his folder. My audit shows Clayton Textiles would have failed 6 months ago without Nina's invisible interventions. The board members started murmuring again. Mr. Patterson looked like he might faint. Show them the Wellington numbers, Reed suggested quietly. I clicked to the next slide. This is what your order fulfillment looked like before my software. Red lines and failing metrics filled the screen. And this is after. The transformation was dramatic. Remarkable, one of the Wellington reps breathed. We'd actually been considering moving our business elsewhere until these recent improvements. You see, Dad? I faced him directly. Everything you fought against, the technology, the innovation, the change, it's what saved your legacy. I just had to do it in secret because you wouldn't listen. I'm listening now, he said quietly. Are you? I challenged. Because here's what happens next. My investors are ready to take my company public. We're valued at 9 figures and growing. Clayton Textiles can either merge with us as a subsidiary, Implementing our technology officially, or what? Tatum demanded. Or we pull our software out completely. See how well you do without it. The room erupted again. Board members shouting, Mom nearly fainting, Tatum turning purple with rage. You wouldn't dare, she hissed. This is your family. Watch me. I pulled up the kill switch screen on my laptop. One click, and everything goes back to your old systems. Think you can handle that Wellington order without my tech? The Wellington reps shifted uncomfortably. Mason, Paxton interjected. This is actually a tremendous opportunity. Nina's offering a way to modernize the company while keeping it in the family. Just not in the way we expected. Dad stood up slowly, all eyes on him. He walked to the window, staring out at the city where his father had built this company from nothing. All those late nights, he said finally, the missed family dinners, the emergency calls. You weren't being irresponsible. No, I said softly. I was building something important, something that could save both our legacies. He turned back to face me. And now you're giving us an ultimatum. I'm giving you a choice, I corrected. The same choice you never gave me. Harper stepped forward with a contract. The terms are fair, more than fair, actually. Clayton Textiles retains its name and core business while gaining access to cutting-edge technology and a significant stake in a rapidly growing tech company. Dad took the contract, studying it. The room held its breath. Nina, he said finally, you've turned into quite the businesswoman. I learned from the best, I replied, even if I had to do it my own way. He picked up a pen, then paused. One condition. What's that? You explain to me, in detail, exactly how you pulled this off. Because clearly, he actually smiled slightly. I have a lot to learn from my daughter. I glanced at Tatum, who looked like she'd swallowed a lemon, then at Mom, who was dabbing her eyes with a handkerchief. Deal, I said, extending my hand. Dad looked at my offered handshake, then at the contract, then back at me. No, he said, putting down the pen. Not with a handshake this time. My heart sank. This time, he continued, walking around the table, I think my daughter deserves a hug. The next morning, I sat in my father's office, our office now, surrounded by boxes of financial records. The merger paperwork was spread across the desk, waiting for final signatures. So this line of code here, Dad pointed at my laptop screen, that's what caught the shipping errors? Before they even happened, I explained. The AI predicts problems based on historical data. Fascinating. He actually looked impressed. And you built all this yourself? She had help, Reed said, walking in with coffee, though she'll never admit it. Reed, Dad acknowledged him with a nod. I suppose I owe you an apology, too. All those times I thought you were a bad influence. I was, Reed grinned. Just not in the way you thought. The door burst open. Tatum stormed in, waving papers. This is ridiculous. Have you seen these merger terms? Nina gets control of both companies' technology decisions. Of course she does. Harper followed her in. She's the one who built the technology. But I'm the COO, Tatum protested. You can't just… Actually, Dad interrupted, we can, and we will. Sit down, Tatum. It's time we had a family meeting. A real one. Mom appeared in the doorway, looking uncertain. Mason, are you sure about this? More sure than I've been about anything in years. He gestured for everyone to sit. Nina, show them what you showed me this morning. I pulled up our real-time analytics dashboard. This is Clayton Textiles right now. Every order, every shipment, every potential problem tracked and solved automatically. But where's the personal touch? Mom asked. The relationships your father built? Right here. I clicked to another screen. The software doesn't replace relationships. It strengthens them. Watch this. I demonstrated how the system had flagged a potential issue with a long-time customer and automatically suggested solutions based on their 30-year history with us. That's actually impressive, Tatum admitted reluctantly. It gets better, Reed added. Show them the expansion projections. I pulled up the growth forecast. Even Harper let out a low whistle. She hadn't seen these numbers yet. With the merger, I explained, we can scale both companies simultaneously. Clayton Textiles becomes the perfect test case for my software, and the software makes Clayton Textiles an industry leader in modernization. But what about my role? Tatum asked, quieter now. You know this industry better than anyone, I said. I need that knowledge. The software can predict problems, but it takes human expertise to implement solutions. That's where you come in. You mean, work together? Shocking concept, isn't it? Reed muttered. Harper elbowed him. Listen, Dad stood up. I made a mistake years ago. I was so focused on preserving the past that I couldn't see the future sitting right in front of me. Nina, I'm sorry. Dad, I started, but he held up his hand. Let me finish. You didn't just build a successful company. You saved ours while we were too stubborn to save ourselves. That kind of vision, that's what Clayton Textiles was built on. Your grandfather would have been proud. Mom dabbed at her eyes. But all the sneaking around, the secrets. Would you have listened if I'd been honest? I asked. Really listened? The silence answered for them. Well, Paxton appeared in the doorway. The board has officially approved the merger. All we need now are the family signatures. I picked up a pen and held it out to Tatum. Partners? She stared at the pen for a long moment. You really think we can work together, after everything? I think we can be stronger together than we ever were apart. I smiled. Besides, someone needs to keep me from getting too caught up in the code. She actually laughed at that, taking the pen. Fine, partners. But I want to learn how the software works. Deal. I turned to Mom. What about you? She looked at Dad, then back at me. Will you at least come to family dinner once a week? No laptops allowed? As long as you promise to let me teach you how to video chat properly. It's not my fault those things are so complicated. But she was smiling as she signed. Dad took the pen last. Nina, your grandfather built this company on a handshake and a dream. You've built something even bigger on code and courage. I couldn't be prouder to sign this. As he wrote his name, Harper cleared her throat. Not to break up the family moment, but the press is waiting downstairs. They want to meet the tech prodigy who's revolutionizing the textile industry. Ready to go public? Reed asked. In every sense of the word? I looked around at my family, really looked at them. Dad, finally seeing me clearly. Mom, trying to hide her pride. Tatum, already studying the software manual. This wasn't the revenge I'd planned. It was something better. Actually, I said, I think we should do this together, as a family. Together, Dad agreed, putting his arm around me. It's about time. The press conference ended with thunderous applause. As cameras flashed and reporters shouted questions, I felt Dad's steady hand on my shoulder. And that's how you handle the media, he whispered, guiding me off the stage. Though I have to admit, you didn't need much coaching. She's a natural, Harper called from the sidelines. The investors are ecstatic. Stock's already up 12%. In the green room, Tatum was glued to her tablet, watching our numbers climb. This is insane. We've gotten more orders in the past hour than we usually get in a month. Can the software handle it? Mom asked, trying to sound casual while obviously still struggling with the technical aspects. Watch this, I said, pulling up the dashboard on the big screen. See how it's already adjusting production schedules, reallocating resources. In English, please, Mom sighed. It means yes, Reed translated, making everyone laugh. Paxton knocked on the door. The Wellington representatives are here. They want to discuss expanding their contract. Send them in, Dad started, but I held up my hand. Actually, Tatum should handle this one. She knows their account better than anyone. Tatum looked up, surprised. Really? Really. The software can crunch the numbers, but you know the people. That's what makes this work. She straightened her jacket, a hint of her old confidence returning. Well, I did handle their account for 5 years. Go, I nudged her. Show them what the new Clayton Textiles can do. As she left with Paxton, Dad turned to me. You didn't have to do that. Yes, I did. This only works if we all play to our strengths. Speaking of strengths, Harper interrupted, we should discuss the Tokyo expansion. Their market is perfect for— No business talk, Mom declared. We're having a family dinner tonight. A proper one, Nina promised. Did I? I grinned. You did, Reed confirmed. And I'm invited this time. Your mom specifically said so. Only because you promised to teach me how to use that cloud thing, Mom said primly. It's just called the cloud, Mom. Not that cloud thing. Whatever it's called, I want to learn. If my daughters can run a tech empire, surely I can figure out how to save a file. Dad checked his phone. Tatum just closed the Wellington deal. They're tripling their order. The software can handle it, I assured him. I know it can. He put his phone away. Because my daughter built it. Harper cleared her throat. Not to interrupt the family moment, but there's one more thing we need to discuss. The Silicon Valley office? Can wait until tomorrow, I finished. Mom's right. Family dinner first. See, in that case, Reed stood up. I'll go help Tatum wrap up with Wellington. See you at dinner? Actually, Mom linked her arm through his. Why don't you help me set up that cloud thing first? Nina's always too busy to explain it properly. As they left, Dad turned to me. You know, I kept all your old coding books, the ones from when you were a teenager. Found them in the attic last night. You kept them? Of course I did. Even when I was fighting against your dreams, part of me knew you were meant for something bigger than what I had planned. Dad, let me finish. I spent so many years trying to preserve what my father built that I almost destroyed my daughter's future. Can you forgive me for that? I hugged him, breathing in the familiar scent of his aftershave. Already have. Good. He pulled back, eyes suspiciously bright. Because I'm going to need a lot of help understanding all this tech stuff, starting with why my phone keeps telling me I'm out of cloud storage. Not you too, I groaned. Between you and Mom. Hey, if this old dog is going to learn new tricks, he's learning them from the best. Harper poked her head in. Sorry to interrupt, but Tatum's looking for you both. Something about Mom trying to upload her entire photo collection to a group chat? Oh, God, I laughed. We better go save the cloud from my mother. Nina, Dad caught my arm as we headed out. You did good, kid. Really good. We did good, I corrected him. All of us. Together. As we walked toward the conference room, I could hear Mom arguing with Reed about storage limits, Tatum excitedly explaining the new contract terms to Paxton, and the distant sound of reporters still buzzing about the merger. This wasn't the revenge I'd planned. It wasn't even the success I'd imagined. It was better. It was family. Messy, complicated, and finally real. Ready to face the future? Dad asked. I smiled, thinking of all the battles ahead. Teaching Mom technology, merging our companies, expanding globally. But this time, we'd face them as a family. Ready, I said. Let's go save the cloud.